Fine. We got our 6 o'clock session. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's a pretty decent day here in the greater Columbus area. It was miserably cold all over the weekend. I woke up, it was like 48 degrees. I could take it. It's in the 60s today. I'm loving it.
I stepped outside. My car said 71.
Wow. See?
Yeah,
That's a pretty decent day based upon,
that's pretty,
compared to the weekend we got. But nobody
absolutely.
tunes into us to hear about the weather, Sam, and I apologize for bringing that up.
Oh,
What
not
were,
at all. Not at all.
yeah.
So today is a really, really interesting topic. Is the government watching you? Social media mistakes for immigrants, and probably we're going to start on a little bit of a broader discussion about social media and the government, and then the mistakes that we make. And honestly, people say mistakes is really unfair to characterize people expressing their honest opinion sometime as a mistake. But at the end of the day, we're trying to get our cases approved, and we're not trying to take the uh, the climb to the top of the hill from the steepest end. We were trying to get there with the more meandering and easy way, not the tough way.
Yeah, make your
And
case
that,
case easy so that you can
yeah,
get it approved. Yeah.
yes. But in preparing for this, and I spent a couple minutes preparing for it, it was really mind boggling how much has social media been mesmerizing the government. The government is mesmerized by so as many other people because the government has so much power, and they use it with tremendous appetite,
Yeah.
and they fear it
Well,
and they try to control it sometime. I mean, the tension between social media and our government, U.S. government and many other governments, I'm sure, but we're talking about the U.S. now, is very, very interesting. So one of the things that I was reading, and I know you want me to focus on immigration, and I was just sharing with you here a moment ago about the Biden administration trying to control what social media says about certain topics. That
yeah.
case went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled not in favor of the Biden administration, telling them you can't tell the social media to take down posts, to take down stuff. But in the context of immigrants, in the context of immigration, the revelation 5 6 months ago that sparked everybody's dismay is that USCIS officers and other DHS officers are using fake names to befriend people, to get information from them, um, to use that
Against them.
information in a decision.
Yeah.
And clearly, if they want to approve, they wouldn't be doing that because they have everything to approve on paper. Usually, when you use these uh, unethical and methods that is contrary to the platform's policies and rules,
Sure.
you have an intention to deny. You're a denial-minded officer. You're not an approval-minded officer,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But we can start talking about perhaps that uh, public record request that was released a few months ago. Brian, what do you know about it?
Well, it's essentially like any other topic. You can FOIA the government, and a group had FOIA'd the government regarding their use of social media. And an executive summary, for various purposes, not just immigration purposes, it reveals that Homeland Security is using social media data to make decisions in people's cases, and that includes creating, as you said, fake accounts to get information from people. So that Facebook friend request or that Twitter follower or you name the platform, your new buddy could in theory be a government officer. It's Sam, all this sort of dovetails on that great immigration lawyer's question of how is USCIS going to know, right? How's the government gonna
Your
know?
favorite topic?
Yeah, and it's the answer is they're out there looking. It's not. I mean, I guess people are always aware that when you do the DS 160, for example, Sam, there's a question on there that says, give us your social media so we can vet you for entrance to the United States, right? There's when you're at the border, they can look through your phone, and see if what you've been telling them aligns, what you've been telling, the customs officers you're talking to aligns with what you're telling your friends. Are you coming for a visit? Or are you coming to work? Things like that. But this is sort of, something that's out there. Um, you know, it's the ever you think you're threatened by government social media snooping at the border or when you're actively engaged in the process, but it really goes beyond that. Um, you don't even have to be at the border. I think this is a great time to bring up your favorite sort of immigration public service announcement, the concept of the 100-mile border zone. Basically, anywhere within 100 miles of a border, which covers the vast majority of the United States, or maybe not the majority of the country, but certainly the vast majority of population centers in the country, they have a lesser burden to search immigrants, those who are here in the United States, and they can and will do and will search through, detain you, and can search your social media if they're so bored or so interested in you, and they find you there.
And if you're a recent arrival to the U.S., they can perform administrative deportation
Yeah,
without sending you to
all
a
at once.
deportation
They
judge.
find
Yeah.
you, say, "Hey, let me see your phone." Oh, it indicates activities that are inconsistent with your non-immigrant status. Let's get you out of here. Things like that are. I mean, they don't happen that much in our world of employment immigration, but we have seen cases like that. It's been a while, but
Hmm.
it's something
Hmm.
out there. But
Yeah.
so there's all even all those things. Sam, we hit talking with the Department of State, applying for a visa, arriving at the border, or encounters with ICE. Those things, usually they involve you actively engaging, sometimes against your will, with immigration officers. But again, it's a revelation that even if you can be out there minding your own business, maybe you have an immigration case pending, and they can be out there on their computer looking into you, is really kind of the something I guess we've always kind of know.
So, what do you think about these deceptive tactics that they've been using to befriend you? And looks like the fraud detection unit, which is the unit that does all the H-1B um,
Investigations.
site visitation
Yeah.
and investigation, has been identified as a very active unit in creating fake social media accounts to befriend foreign individuals and get information from them. And a prior, and USCIS acknowledges that this relationship with Giant Oak search technology has ceased. They don't use them anymore. But this Giant Oak search technology, until recently, was not only searching social media that we know it, it's searching foreign language social media in the country where these people are from to find more information about this person in their language and in circles or in shared media in the country.
Yeah.
Um, so, what is, and the thing that bothers me before we get into really what mistakes and how can we avoid them, what really bothers me is the taking out of context. A lot of things can easily be thin. What did you mean when you publish this thing picture? You put this thing on here, or you put
Yeah.
two thumbs up with this out, and all of a sudden, this is a gangster sign.
I
Uh,
mean, it's something that happens. I mean, Sam, even in our correspondence, here professionally with our clients in our law firm, not everybody speaks English with us, but it's not the same English. It's words, different meanings, different contexts. You know,
yeah, there's a known case in which a picture. You know how people sometimes dress because they look at a picture of somebody dressed in a certain way, and then they mimic that because they think it looks really nice. We all do that.
Mhm.
So I mean, somebody wearing a hat on an angle, turn in a certain angle with a certain language in it, or something, or a
Mhm.
sign,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden they say, "Oh, this is a gangster sign."
Yeah.
And this guy is now a gang, and this is showing up on social media. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
This guy just dressed up because he saw a picture of somebody that he thought it was cool doing it, and he did the same thing, and that picture on social media, and all of a sudden, his adjustment application may be in jeopardy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's something that's very popular. I read. I'm a member of immigration lawyers forums. I always hear people dealing with issues of you know what are they going to think of this guy's tattoo, or what are they going to think of
yeah.
this guy's clothing, just because that. And the government has on the subject of tattoos, they always have a everything's a gang tattoo sort of bias. Oh, you're in a gang.
Mm.
It's help them that's what they're at, and it's the denial minded mind of the government, because frankly, they will generate a narrative in their head if they're looking for a reason to deny a case. They will generate a narrative in their head, and can look for facts to you know meet that now to match that narrative, right?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite one in dealing with the narrative and taking things out of context, and the way USCIS expects people to behave in a certain way where people don't behave that way, is a little story from a client of mine who was asked in an interview, laying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, does your partner sleep to your left or to your right? They want to compare because they're
Yeah, yeah.
interviewing separately. And both gave the same answer. Uh, Neither. We hang out, watch TV, and then sleep on the couch. And we don't sleep in the bed. And the officer was offended because they said they're making fun of him. That how can you not sleep on the bed? All of us sleep on the bed.
Right.
All U.S. citizens
Well,
and
again,
permanent residents who are very well respected sleep on the bed with laying on the back, staring at the ceiling, so we
yeah,
can tell what's
it's
left and
that
what's right.
US citizen person who is judging cases, has their own personal biases that they bring to a case, and somebody who's coming from a foreign country with different culture, different belief systems, they run their lives differently. And the fact, a very common in marriage-based cases, you know, um, some people can't wrap their head around the fact that, I talked to a gentleman from the Middle East who basically, knew somebody for a short time and then got married to them. And they said, well, and then my American says, what about dating? What about, evidence of your relationship? We don't have that luxury. If we want our relationship to be serious, we have to be married. And so we got married and we're happy. But I'm forced to tell them, if you meet quickly and get married, there's a government officer who's going to have a real interesting take on that.
And wasn't it 3 or 4 months ago that USCIS released a request for proposal
Yeah, I don't
to?
soliciting bids for, we are looking for service providers to engage in social media sniffing,
Oh no, I
for,
think
no?
if I remember correctly, it's not. It's developing a system, electronic
Yeah.
system that can. It's like a
Track.
bot,
Yeah.
yeah, that can go in and electronically gather up a all the social media information. I want to say I want to go into my portal, type one name, and give some information, and then get a complete list. That's called Google, I guess.
Yeah, for me,
Uh,
that sounds like I stand by my definition of social media sniffing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But it is electronic system. You want somebody to develop an electronic system that does that.
yeah. I mean, so
So, what's your
Sam,
advice?
I mean, I guess I have sort of 5 things on my list. On my how to protect yourself list. And first of all, it's knowing of the issue. Just knowing that they're out there. The government is always watching. The U.S. government, knows what you ate for breakfast yesterday. They might if you posted it online. Knowing that everything you do and say online in this public space could, in theory, be observed by the U.S. government, and knowing them, they can take it in a negative light, even though you don't, you know, mean it that way.
So, what are the things you want to advise our clients, our friends, our listeners on social media? I think part of the problem, obviously, is by the time people get to us, it's a little too late.
Yeah, yeah.
The damage has been done. Do you shut down social media, and does that help?
Um, so shutting down social media, those things, that's a double-edged sword, because the denial-minded, investigation-minded government officer can say, well, where's your social media? What happened to your social media? Why don't you have any photos of your wife in the family-based based case? Why don't we see these? Why don't we see your digital footprint online? um, I can't. And plus, I try to have a healthy attitude to say, don't let immigration paranoia run your life. You make good decisions. Immigration can be a factor in the decisions you make, but don't make it the entire reason for making any decision in your life. And to that, I'd say, it's be cautious. If you're engaging in social media use and knowing that the U.S. government is out there, observing it, keep that in mind when you're putting stuff out there. You know, uh, if you're here on an employment-based visa, maybe don't talk about your employment so much, because Lord knows they can take those things out of context.
I mean, LinkedIn has everything about your employment. Those are the questions they ask.
That's very, very true. Yeah.
And the biggest issue that we find is the discrepancy between the fancy title you give yourself
Yeah.
on LinkedIn because you want to impress everybody and you want to look for the next job, and the actual job that you have on your H-1B visa.
Yeah.
You put yourself on LinkedIn, director of operations, chief financial officer, chief information officer, and on H-1B it says programmer analyst.
Yeah.
And how you can reconcile that?
Yeah, that's a great point. The discrepancy between what you're might be called at the client site versus what your employer calls you. And you know people sometimes, going into an immigration interview like that, the average government officer, again, a lot of people in our audience are usually involved in the world of IT, and oftentimes in IT consulting, and those folks have such little knowledge of your world, even in that business context in the United States. It's sort of, the average USCIS officer I deal with, say, on a green card application, has precious little knowledge on employment-based immigration in general, let alone what your specific H-1B petition says. Your H-1B petition is probably beautiful, explaining, hey, so and so is an IT consultant working for company XYZ out of Indiana, providing services to J.P. Morgan Chase in Columbus, Ohio. But for the average immigration officer, they're going to say, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. It says you're a whatever for J.P. Morgan Chase. How's that possible? And they can do those sort of things and ask those sort of questions.
Why is there an assumption that everything on social media is accurate and everything the government you file with the government is not accurate? Why don't you go and say everything you see on social media is a lie about me? Yeah, I made it up. It's a marketing tool.
Yeah.
And well, I didn't break. Is there a breaking of the law? Have you broken the law? Is there any violations here? You think?
Well, I'm generally no. I mean,
No,
what you
I'm not a director. No, I'm not the chief financial officer. This is BS. This is a joke. Everything on LinkedIn is a joke. I just put it in because everybody else is lying.
yeah,
So what the heck?
but here's my, so let's say, you're on H-1B visa, your LinkedIn history says all these lofty job titles, but it turns out you're just a software developer or programmer analyst or something like these lines. I don't know. I wouldn't pass the government to say, oh, so basically, so how do you get one of these client projects? Well, they look at my I work with my employer, they find clients that might be interested in me, and they look at my resume and they talk to me. So so you're giving this LinkedIn and your resume to these clients?
Pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pause.
Okay.
Pause. Right there.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Yep.
Because I know you're going to say the next point. I want
Yeah.
to pause you there.
I'll go forever if you allow me
There
to.
has not been any breaking of the law yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lied to my next employer.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I'm just challenging your thought on that.
I think the government has, if you find yourself assigned to an H-1B, a client company pursuant to something that's, a little bit of puffery, puffery is one of those for the record, one of those great legal terms that we use for a very law school kind of term for exaggeration, right? Um, that,
You don't want to go to the lie.
yeah,
So your LinkedIn account is a lie. They got to know me
it's not even
because
a lie. It's a different kind of contextual truth,
no, it's a lie.
Sure. Okay, fine. It's a lie.
I'm gonna give it to you because you were not gonna say it's not a lie. This is when you get in trouble because How in the hell you're a chief financial officer here, or information officer, and you're a program analyst here?
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
lie.
Sure. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, it's a lie. Yeah, I get a
Yeah.
lot of attention. People contact me, then find out I say, you know what? When I talk to them for the job, I say, you know what? I'm really a programmer analyst. This is just to get you in, but I'm really good at what I do.
Mhm.
This is a marketing piece, and can you
Well,
not
you've changed the
explain?
facts on me, Sammy. This
Okay.
person, had a this is had a lie and basically retracted it before before it became material. You know,
Okay, so he did not. Okay, good. You changed
yeah,
it back
hey,
to the old facts, the one
yeah.
that you would
I
like me
feel
to
like I'm
say.
in law school.
No, I just want to have a conversation about
Yeah.
where's the line. Where's the line? When did we break the law? When is the
Well,
law broken? When you have social media information is not accurate, and you your H-1B is accurate, and why the government is going to go after the social media information and disqualify your H-1B based on it?
Well,
Is my question.
the government, asks whether you've ever. They regularly ask you, say, in the context of your green card application, whether you've ever given fraud or fraudulent or misleading information to get an immigration benefit, right? And I think, if fraud gets you to job is immigration. You did fraud to get immigration.
That's what the government would like to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But Brian, the attorney, has a million arguments against it,
Oh, Brian, the attorney
which
does.
is well,
Brian
there's a,
hopes,
yeah,
yeah,
which is basically there's really a very weak nexus between the two.
yeah.
But in the world of I'm the giant government, and if I deny your case, you're gonna have hell of a time trying to get it approved,
Yeah,
and cost you a lot of money, and
yeah,
you may never be able to do it. Uh, they tell you what the law is even
yeah.
after the fact.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if we're going to talk about the concept of fraud, fraud is, you would say, basically that's immaterial to immigration, right? And the problem is USCIS or the government in general thinks everything is material. If fudged the date you lived at a certain address for 10 days, and if you find the wrong officer, I've got you. It's clearly a problem. You're a dirty liar. You're trying to hide XYZ. They can tie anything to anything is the bottom line. Which I guess, as an aside, Sam, is why, as a bunch of attorneys, we're always going to advocate for brutal honesty in your immigration applications. Because, first of all, one of the ways they get you, Sam. One thing, it's
to find discrepancy, it's
yeah, well,
easy. The
yeah.
easiest way to find discrepancy.
And then they'll find the discrepancy, Sam, and they'll point you to the signature block on the end of your application. They say, "What does it say here? It says you certify the truth and accuracy of everything in here to the best of your knowledge." Well, why isn't XYZ?
Right.
Right.
And most of it is explainable.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this. I guess the point I was trying to highlight is that just don't get too carried away with your social media information about your job or your
Yeah.
title. They're reading it,
Yeah.
and they're looking at it, and that can have a very negative consequences if there's clear discrepancy
Yeah.
between that information.
Yeah.
The other thing is don't do silly things like the obnoxious things that showing like you're a macho guy, pictures of you with something like a weapon on you or something. These things, even though it's not a real weapon, these things all get everybody taken out of context.
Oh yeah.
You have to be very careful.
Hey Sam, no, guns are a great one. How can social media get in trouble? Let's say you go to a shooting range with somebody. My public service announcement for people who are not citizens of the United States is, it's a great idea to avoid guns in general, because even though there may be some grounds under which you can own them, there's sure is a lot of ways they can get you in trouble. As well as the bottom
Yeah,
line
I mean,
on that one.
obviously nobody would do something stupid like this, but let's say you go to a gun show
Yeah.
and then you find this really good looking gun somebody's holding. It could be a toy,
Oh yeah.
the demo, not
Yeah.
not the real one.
Yeah.
And then you stand next to the guy as he's taking his picture, and he's
Yeah.
standing holding. I mean, that's stupid things to do like this because that will create
Oh
all
yeah.
kind of crazy stuff.
I'd say that's a great way to cause them sniffing around. Say, I wonder if you're unlawfully in possession of, a non-immigrant unlawfully in possession of firearms, and
Yeah,
suddenly you have a criminal case against you, which is a whole bigger
yeah.
bag of beans.
And therefore, Snapchat is very popular.
Yeah, yeah. Encrypted communications in general are. I believe WhatsApp is. I believe that's encrypted end to end. I don't know about that for sure though. Don't quote me on that one. But
It is encrypted end to end, but don't assume the government has no access to it. It's
oh,
owned by Facebook,
yeah,
and the
that's true.
government and the government and the government has tremendous influence over Facebook and vice versa.
Oh yeah. Plus,
Um,
also, all it takes is for them to get a hold of your end. Get a hold of your phone, and they are in. I mean, the bottom line is, Sam, if we've just heard tons of cases where they looked through my phone at the border and they found something in my social media that they didn't like, and I got rejected for entry. They don't see enough photos of my wife on the internet. They don't see that I'm married on Facebook, but I have an account. You know, they see that my link your
but they
link.
see this other girl next to me hanging out that looks beautiful and gorgeous standing next to me. She's not my wife.
Yeah,
Now you
I
have to
mean,
explain that on social media. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Part of their job is they are supposed to, if they find derogatory information about you, Sam, they are supposed to let you know. If they're going to use it against you, they are supposed to let you know in an immigration proceeding, right?
yeah.
They're supposed to, if you got a denial on your green card because they think they're engaging in fraudulent activity, XYZ, they're supposed to state the source of their knowledge on that. And we've seen it's not that common in employment immigration, but they've seen evidence of them simply Googling you, finding news articles. I remember one from a couple years ago where somebody was accused of domestic violence and bad enough in a public place to make the local news, you know, and that resulted, in a news article about somebody. So I don't know whether that was flagged by investigations division or coming up in a background check, but you know, or did a board officer just Google somebody's name? I don't know, but it is out there, the possibility that the government is really kind of looking into your social media for sure. So I gotta basically agree with what you say in the end, Sam. It's you know know that they're out there, know that they're looking, and use your social media intelligently. It is you're not only using it to project yourself to potential friends and uh, girlfriends or boyfriends or anything, or employers, but you're also projecting something out there that the U.S. government will look at. And there's so much in immigration that, how that can come up related to, as we just discussed. Just guns is something out there that's certainly on the table. I say use it sparingly and treat it like the world can see it, because maybe they can.
Yeah. And we can talk more about that just to give everybody a flavor of what it is that we're talking about on social media. I mean, I look forward for the day that the Supreme Court can say you cannot rely on social media to make
Yeah,
decisions on cases.
yeah. I mean,
I can see a lot of good arguments. I mean, the founders of this country said that's why the Second Amendment's there. Do not trust the government. The government is not to be trusted. Um, and I think the founders did not think of social media because social media should not be trusted as well. And all information coming from social media should presumed by law to be false until proven otherwise. And if the government should use social media in your case, they must, by law, in my opinion, it's not the law, but that's my opinion, they should, by law, have the burden to prove the truthfulness of this information that they've gathered from social media.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's presumed false.
This is something that's been running through my head this entire conversation. The burden is upon you to prove your eligibility for an immigration benefit. So your job is to basically give them, good, solid evidence of, whatever you're trying to approve. You're eligible for a green card. You've maintained your immigration status, and all your good evidence can be kind of undone by some ham-fisted, social media search, and they will give, knowing the government, they will give their vague suspicions as much weight as you know uh, a gram of vague suspicion as much weight as 10 pounds of good evidence in your favor. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that's
Well,
really
this
really
is the time we jump into questions. Um, as we say every time, we don't represent you. We are having a chat with you about your questions and answering them with a very limited knowledge of your background and who you are. And based on that, do not rely on what we say and do not sell your house or buy the plane ticket or do something irreversible. If you are about to do something like this, consult with an attorney of your choice and give them the entire facts of the case so they can help you make a decision and be more informed before you decide your case. With that, we take the first one, Brian, for Mr. Roz, I believe, if I
Yes,
am
Nitty
right.
Raz. From April 1st, would the fees for extending EAD/AP increases from currently being free for Indian EB downgraded GC applicants for the year 2020? And part of being good at what I do, Sam, is being honest about what I don't know off the top of my head, and that falls into that category. Basically, I'll tell you what we're doing right now. There's several reasons why people are trying to get all sorts of cases out before April 1st, and we're just sort of just focusing on getting cases out before April 1st at this time is the bottom line. That beyond April 1st is a beyond April 1st issue, and we're not quite there yet because we're sending out cases today to arrive before April 1st is my short answer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also have dealt in because there's a lot of things are clear, many other things are not clear, and I have dealt into a lot of these details because I'm kind of responsible for certain aspect of the office, and that falls a little bit on my part. And I was having discussion on some nuances that needs clarification. So I am not going to talk about fees
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
but that's coming up, so we probably should comment on it.
Yeah, that's a real kind of next week sort of topic
Yeah.
because next week is a week from today is April 1st. And one thing that sort of bothered me about the fee changes is USCIS has precious little explanation of the fee changes going into effect on April 1st on any of their form websites. They have their general page of information about the new fees, but they aren't really, giving detailed explanations of how they're going to apply in certain cases. Is the bottom line. A great example of that is the H-1B form, the I-129. If you read the form carefully, it basically gives you detailed instructions as to how to calculate the fees, right? And I'm pretty sure they have it in their agenda to put out a new version of the I-129, and I'm going to literally look that up right now as I'm talking here. But if effective April 1st, I mean, let me see here, edition date. It says, typically they say the current edition of the I-129 is for 5/31/2023 and yada, yada, yada. That's it. I would expect and hope that they're going to have a new form version, on or about April 1st, but it hasn't even been announced yet on the website because the bottom line is the forms right now are going to tell you, here are the old fees, and they're not going to give anybody a way to calculate those things based upon how the form is completed
Yeah.
is the issue I see there. So I'm a little bit frustrated with USCIS on this and, well, about 1,000 other issues as well.
Yeah, so they have a whole appendix addressing the I-765
Yeah.
issue. Basically, it is multi-paged
Yeah.
with different fee schedules. Uh, and I do remember looking at that question. I just don't have it memorized. But if it comes back to me before the end, I may be sharing it.
Okay.
We'll take the next one.
All right. Yeah. So here's a name that I think maybe has changed. I could have swore there used to be somebody who we'd see a lot called Sky Limit, but now there's the Is the Limit in there. We got a that sentence is gonna flesh itself out a little bit over time there. Hi, Sam and Brian. Part one: H-1B valid until 2027. I-94 valid until 2027. Currently working 40 hours. I have a job offer at a different employer, 1 day a week to do just surgeries only. Well, that's cool. I think it just sounds like maybe we're talking to a surgeon, and that's what this person does. Interesting. Part two: if I use EAD based upon pending I-45 EB5 regional center, oh, you got cool stuff going on all over the place for you. Sky's the limit for that job, and keep my H-1B job 32 hours a week, which is still full time. Is it possible? Will I be in H-1B status or not? Sam?
I'm gonna let you do that one, Brian.
I think you are severely engaged in that question of the filing fees. So, I know you too well. So, what I'm hearing from Sky is the Limit is that, hey, I'm in valid H-1B status with one employer, working 40 hours a week. Can I basically work for another employer 1 day a week, take my current job down to 32 hours, and use the EAD to work for that other employer for a day? I see a lot of problems with that in terms of H-1B compliance. Well, I see two problems at least. First of all, uh, I would bet that your H-1B petition says that you are working full time, 40 hours a week, and although it depends upon how your H-1B is written, but decreasing your time to 32 hours a week from 40 hours a week could be the sort of thing that might require an H-1B amendment for you. It really depends upon how your H-1B petition is drafted. The other thing is, using your EAD from a pending green card, and again, EB5, go, that's awesome. Um, is outside of the scope of your H-1B. When you're on H-1B status, an H-1B petition is filed from USCIS, and that's going to say, sky's the limit, is working at as a surgeon at place XYZ for 40 hours a week doing these job duties, right? If you do something outside of that, employment outside of that, puts you out of H-1B status. Bottom line, the use of that EAD is perfectly legal. It is just a different kind of legal that is incompatible with what is in your H-1B petition, and that puts you outside of H-1B status. Is my simple analysis of it. So again, making big changes to your existing H-1B approval, your H-1B work, that might be something that requires an amendment. And working outside the four corners of your H-1B petition is something where I'd say that's definitely going to be something that puts you out of status, even though not problematic. You can use the EAD. You can work for 10 employers using your EAD, and that's great,
Brian, for EAD C9 and C16, and we got to look those up.
C9s are the adjustment EADs, yeah.
Anybody who filed adjustment before April 1st gets it for free.
Oh, okay.
So it's renewal of EAD for C9 16 who filed adjustment status on or after June 30th, 2007.
That's the window, okay.
And before July and before April 1st, 2024, $0.
Okay.
Initial filing, renewal, and I think also lost potentially.
Yeah, I had not stumbled across that. I had not stumbled across the before April 1st, 2024 limitation yet, because I do know that there's a discounted rate for a C9 EAD filed at the same time as an I-485, for example. But
yeah, so the address is you have a renewal of an EAD, and it says C9, C12.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw it right there for you, Ryan. Maybe we can put it post it as well.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's where I think it stands right now.
Okay. Well, again, I'm going to I will zero in on that about the end of this week when it becomes very, very, relevant for sure. Yeah. I'm going to keep it going here. For Hari Guru, Sam, I'm going to allow you to take this one, where I'm going to read what you just sent me.
Yes. All right. So, Hari Guru, hi, Sam, Brian. Good evening. When the candidate is considered moved from H-1B to green card EAD, when is it that is considered moved from H-1B to green card EAD? The candidate accepted a new job on EAD or new employment submitted I-9 or run the payroll. So when is the moment? When is the moment where the switch over? Yeah. So this is an excellent question, and this really deserves a good discussion because this is something that people don't have a deep understanding of it. In the context, the first scenario I'd like to discuss is you accepted the job, Brian. You accepted the job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send you the link as well here. You accepted the job.
Great.
And then you wrote the letter accepting the job. You signed the contract, job contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then you woke up that morning and said, no, I don't want to do it. And you go back to your H-1B employer next day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on green card EAD or are you on H-1B?
No, you're on H-1B. You're H-1B.
You're on H-1B. Okay,
you haven't worked.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you walked into this new employer, walked into HR, performed the I-9,
Hmm.
signed the I-9.
Uh-huh.
You don't sign the I-9. The employer signs the I-9. Employee
Yeah.
does not sign the I-9.
I don't remember now. I got to look at I-9. It's important immigration form, but one that we don't have to look at
It may require
that
the.
much.
I do it all the time, but I just don't remember. Just having I'm blanking out whether the employee signs the
Yeah.
I-9. I mean, they complete section
Yeah.
one.
Employee does
Section
sign.
one.
Yeah. Section 1 at the end of it.
Section one.
Yeah.
There is a signature box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Signature of
So you
employee.
sign the I-9. Okay. HR signs the I-9.
Hmm.
Then you stand up and you say, you know what? I don't want to work. You
Hmm.
turn around and leave.
Hmm.
And go back to the H-1B employer. Have you switched jobs? And are you on green card EAD?
Again, I feel like I'm in law school. I feel like I'm getting. My answer is no.
I agree.
Uh,
I
Now
agree.
you have perhaps a records problem. If it's a problem that you worked, you have a record that would strongly indicate that you have.
Right.
But basically, I would say, well, keep good records. Take a picture of yourself, saying adios to the employer, and
By law,
document it.
by law, you can complete an I-9 prior
Yep.
to the begin employment date.
Yeah.
By law,
Yeah.
you can complete an I-9 prior. It's permitted.
Yep.
It does not have to be post employment, and therefore the completion of the I-9 is not a commencement of employment.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, the third one is you showed up, you give your username and password into the computer, and you logged in, and you grabbed the pen, and you wrote something.
What did you write? Did you write, Sam? Was it something substantive and related to your work?
Anything. I don't think it's going to be related, depending on what you wrote. I think,
I
I
think
think you're employed at that
I
point.
think you're
You
probably,
cross
if,
that line.
if you're doing something that was part of your employment. Doesn't matter if that's what you would do, if that's the first step you do, if that's something you do, if you had a job there, you
Yeah,
start doing it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think so. I think it is not. It is not the acceptance of the new job on the ED.
yeah.
Is not the employer submitting the I-9.
Well, now the employer doesn't submit the I-9. I just like to point that out. They keep the I-9
Complete the I-9.
for their records.
Yeah, correct.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll
Yeah,
give the
yeah,
public
yeah,
service
yeah.
announcement.
Oh, yeah. Very
Uh,
important. Oh, yeah.
I-9 is kept by your employer in case Immigration and Customs Enforcement ever asks.
Yes.
They're the ones who are going to ask.
Yeah.
They don't send it to the government when they complete it. It's the employer's obligation to basically make sure you're authorized to work. They don't send that send anything to
Yeah.
the government unless they're an E-Verify enrolled employer, where they
Yeah.
are required to run you through E-Verify if they are an E-Verify employer.
Correct.
Bottom line there. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So I think it is when you actually show up in the
When you work.
office and the first second ticks on that job.
Yeah.
Now, if they did not run the payroll and they say, get the heck out of here, go back to your employer, then legally speaking, you have gotten on green card EAD. I don't care what it's just the government will never find out.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
that's like one of those great how will USCIS know questions, and the answer is maybe they won't, but they could I don't know, find your name in their I-9 records in some sort of other investigation, and that can get tossed into a government system somewhere, and it comes up.
Flip that question, same question Harry asked, into a practical one.
Okay.
Into a practical one.
Yeah.
When are you in the eyes of USCIS? Is if they see a payroll, if they see a termination of employment,
Yeah.
if they see a gap in your H-1B, if they see evidence in terms of what we were talking about earlier, the officer, he's not going to say, you completed the I-9, but you left. Okay, you're now on H-1B. Or he's not going to ask you, oh, so you accepted the employment, but you didn't. Okay, you're fine. That conversation is not, like Brian said, it's law school question, law school stuff. It is
Yeah.
not, it's not practical. The
Yeah.
practical thing is government have a file. They're looking in the file. They see a paycheck from
Yeah.
other than your employer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the date they can say, okay, you're on H-1B EAD. Look, green card EAD looks like to me here,
Yeah.
or a termination of H-1B,
Yeah.
or document in the file. That's when they were going to consider
Now,
from their practical standpoint.
the fun point of the other side of that is, if you have that employment, that's in your record, and you don't disclose it in your green card I-45 form, where they ask for a 5-year employment history, and you don't put it in there, that's how they can get you. They won't know, but you have a little gray cloud hanging over your head. Maybe it wouldn't have been such a problem if you worked without authorization. INA 245K, for example. But they can get you later down the road. It's not that you worked without authorization. It's that you didn't tell us about the work. That's the problem that people sometimes get into.
Yes, and that's why you have to talk to an attorney about any of those scenarios when they're completing the adjustment. Or, by the way, I mean, before you go to the adjustment interview, when you're filing your adjustment status, you're racing against a visa bulletin deadline. You are racing against a big shift in the visa bulletin priority date.
Mm-hmm.
And then the attorney office is now buried with adjustments, and they're trying to get as many cases out as they can because they have an obligation to all those cases. And your case is just flying through the system. There's a questionnaire. You complete the questionnaire online. You submit it. The employer review the attorney reviews it. It looks good to me, and you answer no, 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 no to all these questions. And now 3 years later or 5 years later or 8 years later there's an interview.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
it would be foolish if you don't say, I want an attorney to vet this form that I completed
Yeah.
3 years ago
Yeah.
when I was flying, fighting a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
in a very calm, collected, careful
Yeah.
manner. And you need to do that. You cannot just go into the interview without having that done. That's silly.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, the help of an attorney to help you out and say, all right, this question, this
Yeah.
question. I had a speeding ticket. I had this happen to me. This incident. I had this job I offered, but I turned it down. I showed up. I completed the I-9 and I walked away.
Yeah.
Uh, is my answer correct here? Is my answer not correct? Is there a better way to
Yeah.
answer this?
Usually when somebody gets an interview notice, they go, "Oh shoot," and they start racking their brain over every little immigration scenario question, and that's when those things sort of come out when we have those conversations prior to.
Let's take the next one, Brian.
Yes, sir.
I am on H-1B with EB-2 priority date July of 2014 and pending adjustment status. My advanced parole has been pending since last October. Okay. Is it possible to fasten processing? Also, any insight on when my priority date might become current? I don't have any insight on priority date but might become current, but 2014 sounds like ways away now in
Yeah.
light of the dates that we're dealing with. It's not something imminent that's going to happen. In terms of fastening the adjustment of status, the advanced parole issuance, short of an emergency scenario at home that's life threatening to an immediate family member or something like this, Brian, do you have a recommendation?
Um, I'm going to tell a little 1 minute story about a case we dealt with recently around here. It was the daughter of an employment based green card applicant wanted to go on a trip through her school, right? And basically, as academic trip to Europe, and the problem is that didn't have a valid visa stamp, didn't have an advanced parole, wouldn't be able to go on this trip without doing that. And we made a request. We actually put in a lot of requests. We put in an expedite request and actually reached out to some Congress people on their behalf. And I don't know which congressperson claims credit for it, or whether it was USCIS approving the expedite request, but they were able to approve an advanced parole in November, December, in about 4 months for this person, which is a lot faster than the posted processing time. So it's worth trying. But I would encourage anybody out there to Google the USCIS expedite request criteria. In fact, you don't have to Google it because I will put a link into the chat and send it to everybody. And I guess I would say that that it can be hard to meet those criteria, but stranger things have happened is the bottom line for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. From Sandfax, one of two, Brian.
Yes, I think there's I skipped one in there. No. I'll come back to that. I'll take the Sandfax one.
Is there an increase? Well, let's keep it. Let's keep
Okay,
it
keep it in order.
Yeah. Is there an increase in annual green card visa limits included in the current $1.2 trillion package Congress passed 2 days ago, or anything else for legal immigrants? There isn't anything that I can see
Yeah.
that otherwise we would be our door will be broken into by all the wonderful clientels
Yeah.
asking
The
for
seats
immediate
across from
processing.
my desk would be pre-filled on Monday morning.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah. Just saying facts. This question. Um, as usual, nice tie, Brian and Sam. Now, I am very proud of my tie choices. They're always very consistent. So there you go. Um, I recently joined a new company on Green Card EAD. I requested them to file I-45 Supplement J. While doing so, company is recommending to applying for H-1B consular as a backup to EAD. All right. Is there any drawbacks of doing so? They mentioned H-1B can kept inactive until I want to activate it by going for visa stamping and when visiting India. What is your take on this? Um, sounds pretty conservative to me. I don't disagree with it. It sounds like there's a very conservative immigration attorney involved there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
I mean, unless there is a feeling that the job is not same or similar,
yeah. I
which
that
I find to be incredibly unlikely, because if it's not being same or similar is very rare.
Yeah, well, let me elaborate on why it's conservative. Essentially, it sounds like they want Sandfax, and they're hedging against if this guy's green card gets denied, can he pop out of the United States, go grab an H-1B visa, and come back? Essentially, right?
But it makes no sense in many ways, because I'm assuming that
Hmm.
Sam Fax is beyond 6 years on H1B.
Yeah, and meaning
I mean, the adjustment would be denied, but the I-140 will not be.
yeah, yeah, meaning he wouldn't be eligible for. But yeah, but no, he's filed the I-45 though, so he should be able to extend his H-1B. He has to actually file it.
And this I-140 is not his; it's the other company's I-140,
Other companies I
and it
went
may or may not be alive.
well, no, but it's as long as it was approved for more than 180 days, though, it's still going to be viable for extending H1B. But the problem is, okay, I see your point. I understand it now. He's no longer going to have a filed if his I-145 is denied. He's no longer going to have a filed and pending I-45. Meaning, how can you get on H1B because you've been out of time? How can you extend? Well, they're getting the H1B approval before his I-45 is in theory denied, and that's still going to be an
But
H1B
not,
approval.
yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah,
But you have to go to the consulate.
yeah. Um, it's an.
The likelihood of that is slim,
Yeah.
but it doesn't hurt. How
It's
about
nice.
that,
Yeah,
financier?
yeah. It's nice that they're willing to
Yeah,
spend some money
yeah.
on H1B just to.
No
Hey,
drawbacks.
yeah. How about this, Sam? Here's a useful utility scenario. Hey, Sandfax, we got to send you on business outside the United States. Ooh, I don't have advanced parole. Well, you can get back on an H1B visa. You know, stamping.
Wait a minute. But he did not leave on H1B.
No, but no, no,
Abandonment?
no, 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 no.
Abandonment
Oh,
of I-45?
I forgot. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're right.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
so I mean, as we struggle to find a rationale
yeah,
to the H1B consular processing suggestion, we do not feel that it's a bad idea.
yeah. I guess if one of our clients came to us and said
I don't
employee
get it, but
and said
yeah,
employee really wants an H1B, sure. To what end? It's not going to hurt anything. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm down with that answer.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like an attorney that knows how to sell his services.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be, when a client comes to us and says, "Hey, so and so's joining us, help us with a supplement J," if they're already on H1B, I don't know. I always kind of interpret they've made that decision. If they don't want to do an H1B, if they want an H1B, they'd tell us.
yeah.
Yeah. So from Arindam, uh, I'm a computer science and engineering graduate from India. Have 23 years of experience in software development and IT industry. Cool. Currently working in a U.S.-based multinational company in the USA as a technical leader in data engineering. I came to the USA in August 2013. International intercompany transfer in L1B. This is a story here.
Yeah.
Later did my H1B perm. Party date is June 5th, 2015, EB2.
My goodness.
Yeah,
How
hey,
many more do we have?
we have maybe two more. I'm also working on some AI projects in the last several years. Ooh, Sam, I thought it was going to be an EB1C question. It looks like more like an EB1A question coming up.
Yeah.
Um, Looking at overall profile and experience, recently company attorney mentioned that they can make an argument for an EB1A and filing process is in progress. Okay. Um,
What's my opinion? I guess it's asking what's your
what is the
possibility of
possibility
getting.
of getting it approved?
Yeah. Well, what we do here is we have a sophisticated intake form that collects information that you complete. It's not rocket science,
Yeah.
but it's a complete nice form, and then we evaluate the case. Many other lawyers, I'm sure, have similar service. Our policy is, at least right now, is we don't charge for the evaluation because it's really quick. And if we feel that we're impressed, we typically engage with you a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I don't know enough about you, but what you've shared with us tells me you're a smart guy, accomplished, worked many years, and working in a cutting edge technology,
Yeah.
and working for a large company. All these point to an EB1A with a thumbs up, provided that the rest of the information check out.
Yeah.
So therefore, yeah, you're on the right track, but not enough information online in this YouTube session to give you a better answer.
Yeah. I,
Let's take the next one, Brian.
yeah. 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 From Hari Guru. Hi, Sam and Brian. Once a child is age locked, in what scenarios they won't be eligible to get adjustment status under dependent employment EB3 category? We assume the child CSPA is locked right now. Thanks. Uh,
Well, it's a big question, very broad,
yeah.
not specific enough to answer. So we will give a very broad answer.
Yeah.
The Child Status Protection Act is designed to protect children from becoming over 21 due strictly to government delays. Okay? I think it deserves one more sentence or two.
Mhm.
The normal calculation involves credit given for the time it took to process the I-140,
Mhm.
and some credit um, when the adjustment status is filed. Under dates for filing, recently it was date final action date before. It locks there too. But there's complicated scenarios dealing with retrogression, and complicated scenarios dealing with um, not being visa unavailability for a long time
Mhm.
before you file your adjustment status. That can eat up sometimes. So you got to look at the specifics to get a more specific answer.
Yeah. I guess I'll give my broad version. Of it. One scenario that perhaps would stop, a locked-in child. It's not taking action timely to actually pursue a green card is something that can,
Yeah.
impact eligibility under the CSPA.
Yes.
So, some sort of great those classic closure questions relating to visa bulletin and when are those dates going here. From Chandrakant, any prediction of becoming EB3 India priority date July 2013 current? Well, so EB3 India, I have my visa bulletin up here. Wow. So on final action dates, that's about a year off. And dates for filing, that's, about a year off, 10 months. On the bottom of the visa bulletin for the April visa bulletin, there was a lot of talk there about, hey, don't take for granted any forward movement at the similar pace that we've seen right now. And I'm going to see if I can find it here. What they say about it on the end of the current visa bulletin is,
They're reminded to never assume
yeah.
or something like that.
What they say for employment-based categories, that they engage in a detailed analysis for the rest of the year for family-based. They say employment-based categories, very little to no forward movement is expected in the coming months since the final action dates for many categories advanced for April 2024. How many coming months? We don't know. Maybe it's May and June. Maybe it's for the rest of the year. But basically, don't expect much movement right now. And honestly, I don't really foresee that date coming up within this current fiscal year. It doesn't seem very likely to get essentially a year of movement during the next fiscal year. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, before we close it, there's a couple common questions made by Morale.
Yeah.
considering the lengthy wait in EB2, it's advisable to go to EB1. Yes, absolutely, we
Yeah.
agree. And then, can you file it on your own, or do you need to go through a company attorney? You can file the EB1 on your own, EB1A on your own.
Yeah.
It's a self petition.
Yeah.
You can, yeah, certainly do it.
Yeah. EB1B and EB1C require, the company and a sponsor to be involved
Yeah,
in that. So that's the yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. Hopefully, it was helpful. Had fun for an hour. Until Monday, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. And we'll see you Monday at 6 o'clock for another topic and answering more questions.